Welcome to HW Hockey.
What's up, you beauties? Welcome to High and Wide Radio, episode 45 of season 6. I'm Jim Michkov, joined as always by Jack Smith. If you guys are watching us live on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed and set an alert for future shows. And if you're listening as a podcast, please make sure you're listening and subscribed on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We should be live on Facebook tonight. We're definitely live on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, give us a like and a subscribe on YouTube. We're still having some Twitter issues. We ended up buying Twitter for the podcast account, and we're having some trouble getting connected. So hopefully we get that remedied within the next week or so, hopefully by next week. But before we get into tonight's topics, because we actually have some big topics, pretty big week for the Flyers, if you've been paying attention. Let's talk about fans of Philly. Flyers fans, are you ready to take your game day experience to the next level? Look no further than fans of Philly. With over 14 years of experience, they have been the go-to for organizing unforgettable travel packages for Philadelphia sports fans. Why should you choose fans of Philly? Let's break it down. They've spent years building top-notch relationships with bars, hotels, teams, transportation companies, and more. Every trip's a learning experience, making each one better than the last. You can trust that their travel packages will exceed your expectations. And I know we've mentioned on prior shows some of the destinations or potential destinations for the travel packages this year. Salt Lake City's on the list. I think they're going to do a Western Canada trip, Minnesota, Dallas, Detroit. And I think we have to confirm still if they're going to do a big trip to Anaheim. They just posted something on their Twitter, so go check out @FansOfPhilly or visit fansofphilly.com for more information. And Jack, one of those games they're promoting as a Michkov revenge, or not a Michkov revenge game, but sort of a Flyers versus Ducks, Gauthier versus Michkov matchup. And it's going to happen because he was officially introduced this week, and it's all real now, Jack. Like, he's here, right? Like, he wore the jersey, had the press conference, was in front of the media. He's here. He's officially a Flyer. He'll be in training camp, and it's here. We're seeing projected lines with Michkov in it. I kind of already gave my thoughts on a video. Let's hear yours, Jack. Michkov's here.
This is a great day. It's going to go down in infamy and in history, in Flyers history. Yeah, there was obviously, we heard he was coming over. That was phenomenal. That was great. But to actually get him here is huge. It is huge. Now, he obviously is probably going to go back to Russia after every season, so it's not like it's over. Never know what can happen in the world. But for this season, for as far as he's concerned with his contract with the Flyers, he is here. He's here to stay, and we're going to see what he's got, and we're seeing projected forward lineups. I know we're going to get into that, and that looks awesome. That looks great, and it's just for a lot of negativity that's been the past, you could really go back 8 years. It is really nice to have some really positive energy around here. How the fan base is treating this guy like a god, but I think he's handling it pretty well. I think he plays up to it in a sense. He couldn't be more decked out in Philly's gear, and he just feels like he gives all the right answers and whatnot. And it's really exciting to have a player of this caliber who wants to be here so badly, who almost embraces the role. Yes, Briere said he's not the savior. We don't view him as a savior, nor should they. Doesn't mean he's not the savior. They just got to say what they got to say. And I think Michkov is handling everything beautifully. He doesn't seem very timid. His biggest issue is the language. If he was fluent in English, Lord knows what he'd be saying. So I love everything about it. I love the circus around it. I hope it keeps going. It's fun. It's positive. And most importantly, it's exciting. And I cannot wait for the season. So the more I think about it, the more I realize they have a ways to go and they got a lot they have to build. This is going to be fun just to watch the growth of this player. It's phenomenal. It's great to have him here.
Yeah, I mean, they get an instant superstar. I mean, so yesterday I kind of tempered my own expectations. So, I mean, let's talk about expectations a little bit. So I forget who asked the question, but somebody asked Michkov, do you have any personal goals heading into next year? And he chose not to answer specifically. He said they have team goals. He wants to make the playoffs and he wants to win all the cups, which is what the translator said. Hopefully the Stanley Cup's in there, obviously. But what are my expectations for Michkov next year? What are your expectations for Michkov next year, Jack? And guys and girls in the comments, what are you expecting?
I think he's going to do what Matthews couldn't do last year and be the first player to score 70 goals since like the 90s. Anything less would be an utter disappointment, to be honest. But no, seriously, he'll be in I believe the Calder Cup odds came out and he was like minus 400 or something like that. So, but they were the best odds. I think Celebrini was like 450. And then I think Cutter actually was like fourth on that list. Lane Hudson was on that list. Two other names that I just escaped me at this time. That's the goal. It's probably the goal he didn't want to say. I definitely think he should. For me, if you're going to be in that conversation and he's the favorite, I really think if you look past that previous Rookie of the Year contenders, you got to finish in that 60-point range, 60 plus. I really think you're not getting it done with anything less than that, unless if say he had 50 points, he'd have to have like 35 goals. So even then, I don't know if he gets it. So like, I expect some goals. I'm hoping for like 25 goals. I'm hoping for 60 points, obviously. And if you break that down, that's 30 goals, 30 assists ish, if not more, maybe more assists. I don't really know if he's going to score 30 in his rookie year. Lindros scored 41, I believe. So, but different times. And he's got we're going to get into this, but he's got a nice, when I look at some of the other players, like Michkov could legitimately play on top. He'll probably start on the second line. He might either get that line either might just get more minutes, or he might get bumped up to the top line. He should sure as hell play on the power play, the number one power play, and increase that. He's going to have every opportunity to pot as many goals as he can get. And I'm sure we're going to see a couple attempts at the Michigans, at least one. Come on, at least one. Even if it goes poorly, do it and do it again. So yeah, I would love for him to land in the 60-point range. I think he scores around 25-ish goals, maybe some more, maybe 27, something like Owen Tippett did this year. And maybe the assists, balance it out, and he teeters around 60 rather. I do not know if he'll score 30 goals, but I can't. The last time I had a prospect like this, I was 3.5 years old. So what do I know?
Yeah, I'm excited to watch him. I'm excited to see how he gels with these guys. I'm excited to see, how do they take him in? Because how is he going to communicate with them? And we heard we keep hearing this is a close-knit group, right? They're all somewhat in the same age, things like that. How are they going to react with a player who doesn't speak the language and, comes with all this hype? How are they going to accept him? As fans, I think we'd like to think right away, yeah, of course they're going to accept him. He's a teammate, but this guy's going to get a lot of attention, man. And I'm curious to see how things gel, how things go here. Because I know, as fans, we all think everything's sunshine and rainbows, but I'm curious to see how he's going to fit in. And I know Zamul is here and he's done okay, but he doesn't come with the same cachet or the same expectations, obviously, as a Michkov. So we'll see. Flyers will have 3 Russians on the team next year. Hopefully they can help each other out and, things go smoothly. What do I expect from Michkov next year? Honestly, Jack, it's hard for me to say. I think I would be perfectly fine with a 50-point season. What did Bedard finish with last year?
I think it was 60 something.
And I know Bedard's a center, right?
Yep.
22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. So I could see something like that. Sure. Maybe a couple less assists, maybe 20 goals, 30, 35 assists, something like that. So yeah, I don't know. 61 points is pretty good as a center for a rookie center, almost point per game. I don't know if Michkov's going to be point per game. But I'm curious to see where he starts out.
But Bedard had some injuries too. Let's not forget. He had he break his jaw or something like that. Like he had some stuff going on. Michkov could go through something like that. Hopefully not. But that'll affect the point totals as well. But Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to point that out about Bedard.
No, sure. And let's just read a couple comments here. Megan Riley's chiming in. Hey, Megan. Very exciting week for Flyers fans with Michkov making it to North America and the re-signing of Konecny. Yeah. So it's a positive episode. Fancy chiming in here. Fancy's been in watching the last couple shows, so good to see you in here. Matvei gave all the right answers. And yeah, so let's talk about that for a second, Jack, because you know what? Like, what I was most impressed with, and maybe it's because, who knows, maybe it's because he was a little nervous, or maybe he's so focused, but every question that was asked, at least in the early part of the press conference, he mentioned he wanted to win. He wanted to win. That's all he wants to do is win. He wants to win night in and night out. He wants to win a cup, wants to win all the cups. And I'm like, go ahead, Matvei. Like, if that's what you want, like, so do we, you know?
Hell
go for it.
Lord knows we deserve it.
Yeah, so he was giving all the right answers. And then there was a clip where he I guess he did an interview with Ashlyn Sullivan or something, and Ashlyn was talking about how they were coming out off the plane in the airport, and it's Keith Jones to one side, Danny Briere on the other, and she mentioned Danny Briere holding on to Michkov's sticks, and Michkov, he showed some personality there where he goes, you know, I let him hold them because I figure he's going to help me score more goals if he touches my sticks. And I'm like, okay, that's a little funny. So maybe he's got a little bit of that to him. You know, he's loosening up a little bit.
And respect at the same time. A little respect for Briere's way. He's a great player within his own right.
Right. Imagine that these days. A little bit of respect. We had a little situation earlier on Twitter.
Yeah, don't get me started. I almost went to a rant. Just all it took. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that, man. But yeah, I mean, total opposite of what we saw in a former top 5 prospect who couldn't even bother to talk to a guy. And the other guy from Russia, no less, not even from North America. So I don't know how much hockey he's seen Danny Briere play, you know, but still respects the guy enough, you know, to give him a compliment and make a joke at the same time, which I thought that was clever.
He's got to know his history, at least his Flyers history. I mean, think about it. If you grow up playing nothing but hockey and you're good enough where you know you're going to be a NHL, not just a prospect, but like you could probably go 1 in most drafts and definitely 2 in a draft where Connor Bedard's the number 1 guy, and you are on par with him. Like, you got to be tuned into where you can wind up and that team's history a bit, especially the way he's playing everything up. I'm sure he knows hockey's probably his life. You know, it should be. You know, based on what he's been doing. So he knows. He's smart. Just shows me he's a smart guy.
For sure. A couple people chiming in. Linden49 chimes in. Good shot at the Calder. We have Eric Wisniewski chiming in. I'm going big. He's putting up 100. I would love to see it.
Could you imagine?
I would love to see it.
Oh, my God. Canadian fans would just jump.
Yeah, I'm not going to shoot it down. Let's go for it. Let's see it. KSHR Taco, Calder Cup for Michkov. I think this is the first time I'm seeing you in here. So welcome to the show. Hopefully we see you in here more. KSHR Taco. Thanks for hanging out. Dan Knightley, my expectation for Michkov is to look sexy AF in O and B. He already does.
Damn right. Yes,
he already has the look.
That first game is going to be wild.
Yeah, it should be packed.
Better not, no preseason injury bullshit. You better make it to game 1. They're going to be rock. I think, of course, they open up on the road, but that first home game, man.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, man. I'm looking forward to that. What is it, October what?
Their home game? I forget. I got to look.
Hey, cool. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, usually we do Wednesdays. We're on a Thursday this week, so glad to have you.
God, got the news in at the last set. We just know. Yeah, it's a sixth sense.
Fancy's been on fire in here, Jack. I don't know if you've seen the last couple of 10, 15-minute videos, but he's on fire. Of course, interested to see how he can potentially lift the power play. Lord knows they need it. And, okay, so let's talk about the power play a little bit, Jack. Like, let's assume Michkov's, he will be on it, right? Like, I don't know. What do you think happens with the power play? Can it improve just from adding one player?
Well, yes. But let me ask you this. Of everybody in the Flyers organization, who do you think was truly the happiest that Michkov arrived?
In the Flyers organization, who do I think was happiest? Like player?
Anybody. Player, management, fan, newscaster, anybody?
I think Keith Jones. I think we might be looking at a coach here, but just for the sake of this answer, it's Keith Jones is my answer because the guy
happy
hasn't
dad.
stopped smiling. Yeah,
I love that. And that's a good answer, but the correct answer is Rocky Thompson because his job is the definition of hot seat, and he just got handed an absolute weapon to use. Now, will he use that weapon? I don't know what we're doing here. If you don't, if we're not going for it, then you're figuring out what you got in certain players, and he absolutely needs to be on the first power play unit. Come on, everything. We should start feeding everything through this guy. He's your entire franchise at this point. Yes, we have plenty of other pieces, and I like what's being built, but he needs to be the guy. It makes zero, especially with how bad they've been. What other pieces have they added to this team? So the answer is an obvious yes. The previous pieces you've had do not work. It's the worst power play in the league for the last 5 years. This is your one shiny new toy, and my God, is it shiny. Maybe he's not there day one, but by day 12, he needs to be there, especially if the power play is up to its old antics, not scoring. He needs to be there. They must go through him, keep everything in mind with him. Did Torts not say we want to be prepared to play for when the mad Russian gets here? Yes, he did. That includes the power play. This makes too much sense not to. If they don't, then I don't know what the hell they're doing. It doesn't make any sense to me. Unless Torts is upset with some kind of defensive play and wants him to earn it a little bit, or I don't know. None of it makes sense to me. He needs to play in the top power play unit. End of story.
Yeah, and I don't know. I'm not sure people are going to like my answer, but the key to the power play for me is Jamie Drysdale, not necessarily Michkov. I'm not sure. I'm not sure another winger is going to help the power play out. I've said it. We said it earlier in the offseason. They needed a net front guy, and they needed a guy that can get their shot through the goal. And it's not because they need to play that way, where the power play needs to be shoot from the point, screen the goalie, but it opens things up for their skill guys. You know what I mean? So if it's just Michkov and they can't get pucks to goal and they don't have anybody screening the goalie, I mean, if you're the defense, Jack, like who are you going to not let beat you?
No, I understand.
You know
right. I understand that. And you're 100% right. In my mind, getting those pieces in line, that's to be a top 5 power play. We're just talking about improving the power play from like dead last.
Yeah.
He needs to be on power play. And I 100% agree with everything you said there. For me, it's just, does he need to be on the power play? The answer is yes.
Yeah,
to both
for sure.
And just get the puck on his stick down low. And just, if you can't do much from the point, let him do some magic down low. Maybe that'll open up things for some other players until Drysdale's ready to roll, because he still is coming back from that surgery, which we heard the doctor said it was a little bit worse than they anticipated. So we'll see what the return, the injury, getting back to 100% is. But yeah, no, I think Michkov alone, a player of that talent and that skill, for God's sakes, if Ovechkin can stand at one location on the power play and make that in his heyday a top 10 power play, I'm sure Michkov alone can get us out of the goddamn cellar. So yeah, no, Michkov and Drysdale combined, that's when, especially if Drysdale comes along, now we're talking top of the league. So just in my opinion, 2 different conversations, but you're 100% right. Drysdale to getting it to be a lethal power play unit, yes, that is definitely more important.
Yeah. And so, and I'm going to say this because I don't mean to sound neg, but just putting Michkov on the power play as is with the personnel that they have on the power play, it sounds crappy to say, but I don't think it makes it that much better. Just at least not yet, you know?
If Rocky Thompson can't find a way to at least make it a little bit better with a player of that talent to change things around, then I got to question him. I'm not saying they're going to be top 15, top 20 even. They can't be dead last. They got to do better than what they've been doing.
I think it's going to be near the bottom. Like, that's just my opinion. I think it's going to be near the bottom, at least bottom 5.
Maybe he's still 19 years old too. It's not like we're adding Kucherov to the, so maybe there's something like that. But they got to try. I think they got to try. If I don't see it, then I'm going to be pissed. And Rocky's going to have to answer for it. Unfortunately, there's too much skill there to not be a little bit better. Hopefully significantly better or marginally better. You pick your term. They got to be better than at least the 8 bottom teams in the NHL. Like, come on, somewhere in that mix. So, I mean, it's just getting silly at this point. They got talent. There is talent on this team. They're not bums out there. I understand some of the defense is going to help you out, but you're supposed to have some kind of offensive ability, as is Sanheim. And I'm sure Drysdale will give you something. So, like, major injuries aside, they got to do something. Otherwise, they're wasting their time with Rocky Thompson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make this a power play thing, but that's the thing. Like, York and Sanheim are puck movers, but they can't get pucks to goal. So when they have the puck on the power play, you know that they're going to move it. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. We'll hopefully, they figure something out on the power play, but yeah, Lyndon chiming in. Power play is the key to success. And the Flyers are a playoff team last year. If that power play is just a couple points better, like 2, 3, 4 points better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like my thing is like, will Michkov make the power play better? My question, I guess my return question would be, okay, well, how would he do that? How would he make it better?
Well, he'd be your net front presence guy. He'd be just get that puck down low to him and let him just. Michigan is a threat. There's less players on the ice than your team, and you have Michkov. That automatically should make it better. That's what always irked me about. And I get what you're saying, but they are short a man, or the Flyers are up a man. They should be better. Like it is not. I get getting pucks to net. I get that, but they do it 5-on-5. And I understand a lot of their game is run and gun. I get that, but you add players who can move the puck. I'm not saying they can get the puck to a forward who can get the puck to the net. It's not all shots must come from the point. There's other ways to improve the power play, not make them great, but improve it. And a guy like Michkov down low, or wherever the fuck he wants to play, honestly, is going to be dangerous. He's going to be a threat. He's going to be lethal. He just knows how to score. We're going to see him score in situations that we go, what? I didn't even know there was a shot lane available, because we're so used to bullshit. So I think that's why we were more reliant on the defenseman, because not everybody had that skill set. And we've had some nice players here, but we've really never had a true Studley Stutterson like this. You can make your arguments about Giroux, but I think you even got to go back even further. So that's what I'm saying. I expect to see it. I'm not saying every time he scores, it's got to be in Michigan. He will put pucks on net, and he will have pinpoint accuracy at times. And that tells me alone, as long as he's there, that the power play will be better. We'll just say better.
Yeah. Eddie, we have a couple guys saying, put him around the net, behind the net. And, when I watched some of his games, that's where he is. He's just around the net. Right. He's in those areas, whether it's, deep in the corner or in front, to the side of the net, behind the net. He's around the net, around the puck. So, maybe we'll make things happen that way. So, yeah, smart viewers and listeners we have here, man. Good stuff.
Let's go, baby.
Get it to
They're going to have to, other teams are going to have to account for Michkov on the ice. That alone should open things up at least a little bit.
Yep. There you go. Dave chiming in. Go to where it's going to be. And if you want to get it to the front of the net, plant your ass over there. So, yeah, it's really not that hard of if you even want to call it a strategy, it's like, back to basics. Get a guy in front and throw the puck out there. So, anyways, yeah, good stuff there for Michkov. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, Jack. So, Briere mentioned 3 names yesterday, and those names were Nick Delorier, Eric Johnson, and Garnet Hathaway as guys that will help the process, the getting comfortable process for Michkov now with the Flyers. Does it seem like Briere sort of putting the responsibility on those guys to make sure things mesh the way they should? Or when you heard that, how did you take that?
No, that is how I took it, but more in a laid back sense. I think there's going to be a sense of accountability, not even so much as play on the ice, just carrying yourself like a pro. Like, we're here to grow, we're here to learn, we're here to win ultimately. And if everything that Michkov and other players are saying about wanting to win multiple cups, all that stuff, then we're going to have to do things the right way. We don't want any BS in the locker room where it's cliquish and there's groups and this guy's laughing at that guy and making a fool of the coach and all that crap. We've heard other players who've had a cup of coffee here who spent time in other locker rooms, like Dale Weiss comes to mind. Say what you will about the player, he did play with the Montreal Canadiens, whose captain was Shea Weber, and there was a massive difference in the way that locker room was run and the way the Flyers locker room was run. Excuse me. And yeah, that was a serious problem. I know a lot of the culture people who don't like that are like, oh, well, got bad players. How's that create good culture? Yada, yada, yada. You got guys like Eric Johnson, who's been there before. He's been around. He knows his stuff. He's already reaching out and texting Michkov, trying to get it's almost like they're all, what do they call that? They're like ambassadors for your team in a way, but they're with the team and the players. And there's somebody you can ask who's been around the league and like, how do I handle this? Like the media did that. We don't know what goes on. Like when the cameras are off, these guys are humans and they have to live their day-to-day lives. Like they can help them out with that and, not go get plastered at the bar before you have a game the next day. And a lot of stuff certain players did before here that was a serious issue. Like it's just nothing bad about having these players around. That we also can help keep you accountable on the ice, but also protect you as well. So I just think it's great having players like that around, and each one brings their own little taste to it. Like Johnson's not going to play very many games, but he's also the most experienced and the most accomplished of the three. Delorier is a guy who, if he is playing with you and you get roughed around, he's going to put that guy into the ground. And I'm sorry, but they mess with younger players. It happens. The Crosby was protected. Gretzky was protected. Everybody was protected. It is what it is. And I like that Delorier is a guy who probably shouldn't be in the NHL, but works hard his whole career to make something, carve out that niche role for himself. And he's had a hell of a career in the role that he has, a lengthy career, I should say. So, I mean, that's good in its own right. And Halfley is one of the best players on the ice and what you love to see in an NHL player, a coach's like toolkit pet. Like that's a guy that Torts is going to be like, if you could play like him with your offensive ability, you'll be the best player in the league. So like that combination of players, you're getting a little bit of everything off the ice, on the ice, locker room. You can't be upset about it. People are going to try to poo-poo it. They can go pound sand. This is a good thing no matter how you view it.
Yeah, for sure. I really like that he mentioned those guys because they're brought in for a reason, and it's not always, how can you help us on the ice? Obviously, a guy like Delorier, Johnson, not the most skilled players on the team, but they're, being paid to do something. And I was glad that he brought them up so that they could get, certain accolades. And I know everybody wants top 6 forwards and top pair defensemen, and everybody needs to score, point per game and video game numbers and things like that. But in a real life human locker room, you need, guys with personalities. You need players to police things a little bit, make sure everyone's getting along. You need gel guys. They're really, really important. And that stuff doesn't really show up in the stat sheet, and they don't get the cachet and the glitz and the glamour for doing it. But, those guys are extremely important. So I like that he mentioned those guys.
Love it.
Linden49 chimes in. If I was Eminem, Matvei Michkov, Hunter would be my best bud, and that's Hunter McDonald. And that made me laugh because there was a video of Michkov and Hunter McDonald making acquaintances, and you saw Keith Jones kind of smiling in the background like proud dad, and it made me laugh. And maybe that's what that was about, Lyndon. Why don't you go meet Hunter McDonald? You're going to be, hanging out with him for a long time.
We hear way too much about this prospect. It's unbelievable.
I haven't watched a second of him play.
Me neither, but everything I'm reading is at his absolute ceiling is like a 5. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, great. I know we need those guys, but Jesus, man, I'm hearing way too much about him, way too consistently. And it's all coming from Keith Jones and fans.
Yeah. Ronnie Cernowane chimes in. If I said that wrong, Ronnie, let me know. So we should let Michkov center align with Hathy and Dell. Nah, I don't think we're going to see that. At least I hope not. Could you imagine? That's all we need. You think people hate Briere and Torts now?
Yeah, I know a couple of people that would roast Torts for even attempting that. I mean, I hope they're up 8-0 if they try a line like that.
Yeah, that'd be nuts. But all right, so we're about a half an hour in. Excuse me. Let's there was a comment I wanted to pop up here. Where did it go? So we can change topics. And if I don't find it, I apologize. All right, so I can't find it. Travis Konecny signed an extension today. Let's talk about this, and then we'll get into the forward group in just a few minutes. $70 million deal spread out over 8 years. I think it comes to an 8.75 average annual value, Jack. What are your thoughts on the Travis Konecny extension?
I really wish I had a way to pull up old podcasts, not even that long ago. Now, the first thing I'll say is I was pretty adamant months ago that his contract number was going to start with a 9. I'm very happy it does not. Thank you, Sam Reinhart. I know for far away that had a lot to do with it. That being said, I'm pretty sure we discussed, we knew it was going to be 8 years. I know towards the end, before he signed, there was some discussion. It could be like $10 million, but only 4 or 5 years. I didn't see that happening. But so I knew 8 years was going to happen. I believe I think 8 for 8 was like a fair market, maybe above fair for him. This is definitely not fair market, but this tends to happen when guys are going to be free agents and whatnot. And I look at his age, how old he's going to be and all that. And if you are on team Keep Konecny, you can't be upset about this. It's under $9 million in this market with the cap going up and whatnot, and what other people are getting, which actually may have helped. 8 years was always going to be a thing, but under $9 million, it's a lot of money, but it's your best player, current best player, and you have really solidified your wings. And we'll see what that means down the road. There needs to be a part 2 and 3 of this with some of those wings. There's no way this team keeps Michkov, Tippett, sign long-term, Konecny, sign long-term, Michkov, the franchise savior. Forrester looks great. He doesn't look like he's going anywhere. And all of a sudden, I'm looking at guys like Farabee and Brink. Do we really think we keep all of those guys? I really don't think so. And we need centers. We could even use another shot at a number 1 D man. So we'll see how that goes. I personally thought it made more sense to trade Konecny, but now that I finally see the number, I really can't get too upset about it. Anymore, I probably would have been pretty pissed. This I can swallow. I can live with. He'll be 34, 35 by the time it's over. That's not that bad. It's really not. Maybe the last year or two might be a little painful, but again, I don't think it's going to be that bad. And there is something to having Michkov come over and having him not immediately be the best player on your team. I do think there's something to that. You want to try to have a winning culture as well. He helps with that, gives you other options, as we discussed. At the end of the day, I think it was a solid deal. I'm not going to say it was a good deal. I'll say it was a solid deal. It was fair, considering certain aspects. I'm glad. I love Konecny, so I'm glad he's here. And I just hope they can finish, the process or the rebuild, if you even want to call it that, down the road. Because in my mind, there is a world where they re-sign him and still make this work. And the fact that number is not $9 million or more, I think that's huge.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with the extension. Yeah. So Ronnie chiming in. I hate the term. I hate the number, but I love it.
That's funny way to put it. I kind of feel that way.
Yeah. The
I don't
term
say hate, but
the term is what it is. I feel like it's whatever. I more so don't like the no trade clause more than I dislike the 8.
Yeah.
The 8 years, it's what are we worrying about? We're worried that he's not going to be producing 8 years from now, 7 years from now, 6 years from now. I'm not worried about 6 years from now with Travis Konecny. I want him to produce next year. I want him to produce the year after, the year after. You know what I mean? When we get to year 6, 7, 8, then I'll worry about that.
I was just going to say, trade. So after 6 years, so the last 2 years of the deal, it's a limited no trade. So you have options if need be.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know some people are freaking the hell out And I was somebody who was, move them for assets to attempt. Because when I say go get your number 1C, I'm not saying trade everything you have for a bona fide number 1C. That's not possible. But I would like to take multiple stabs at it, drafting, trade, all that. But when I see the number, it's like, it's a lot of money for a winger. You remember what happened last time? We put an awful lot of money in wing. You already paid Tippett long-term. You paid TK long-term. Michkov's, I'm not worried about the cap too much yet, but Michkov's going to get paid. Just having a lot of money in your wings, that doesn't typically work. So we'll see. It's just, it's a process. I'm not against it. I think the Tippett deal was a good deal. We'll see what happens with Forrester and Michkov. We got some time on those guys. And then hopefully the cap keeps rising as well. Get a little bit of wiggle room. We'll have dead money coming off the cap in years to come. So that's gonna help. So, and I love Konecny. Did you hear what Konecny said when he was asked? I believe Charlie O'Connor asked about winning a cup at another city. Did you hear that quote?
I saw, I think, a summarized version.
So did I. So I guess it was something along the lines of winning a cup in another city. And he said, yeah, basically, yeah, of course I'd be happy, but it wouldn't mean as much as it would to win here. And that's, again, you think Michkov's saying the right things. That's definitely an awesome thing for TK to say. I love him. He loves it here. We love him. It's hard to get upset about a deal with somebody who loves your franchise and wants to play for you when you got Cutter Gauthier's out there pulling their bullshit. So, yeah, am I happy about the number? I'm not ecstatic, but I'm glad he's still here. I think it's a number and year length that is Briere should be able to maneuver around other aspects to build a studdish team. And I don't see an issue with that. That's when I look at this team, what I'm worried about, it's not necessarily this deal and this player. I just saw, at the time, an asset that could get you assets to go get one of those, fill one of those holes. But now we never have to worry about wing again. And other pieces should be, I would assume, would get traded. So we'll see. That's going to come in time. There's no real rush. I love the player, love the game. You can't get too upset about it.
So here's a couple quotes from today. This is from Danny Briere. Travis Konecny is an integral part of the fabric of our team, and we are thrilled to have him under contract for the long term. Travis has grown into a significant leader on our team, and he truly embodies what it means to be a Flyer. His work ethic combined with his tenacity and talent makes him a central figure for what we are building towards, and his determination for our future success speaks volumes about his commitment to our team and city. So we had Jim Jackson on last week, Jack, and you remember what he said. It's not even just about points and goals for Konecny. He is the heartbeat. He's the motor. He's the guy that drags teammates into games. People are, I don't know, man. I'm really not sure how you cannot like Travis Konecny right now. And sometimes I laugh when I laugh to myself a little bit because I think back like 4 or 5 years ago when I'm like, no, this guy, the way he's playing now, he's not a 30-goal guy. He's not a point-per-game guy. Doesn't score in the playoffs. But when you watch him, he's an integral part of this roster. And guys his age that are putting up the points that he is putting up get paid the amount of money that he got paid. And we could argue years all we want, but it's not like he's the first and only player to ever get 8 years. Like, good players get long contracts. If he didn't get it here, he was going to get it somewhere else. It's just that's how it is. That's how it was going to be, And
we deserve something from the Hextall era. We deserve something for going through that. TK's a Hextall guy, so hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, there you go. Big Hextall fan. Eric Wisniewski, TK was born to be a Flyer. Yeah, kind of was. So here's a quote from Konecny. I couldn't be happier to sign again with the Flyers. There's such a bright and exciting future with this team, and I can't wait to be part of it for the next 9 years and see what we will accomplish. I can't thank all my teammates and staff members enough because this opportunity wouldn't be possible without each and every one of them along the way. I can't wait to get back to Philly in front of the best fans in the world, and I look forward to another great season. So all good stuff there. Yeah.
See, Lyndon knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. It
Thank
goes
Toronto
all
for
the
the
way. It
trade that
goes
landed
all
us
the way.
TK.
It goes technically. It goes all the way back to Braden Coburn, as that's not a bridge to a different era. Middle of the night trade that brought in an additional first, draft day trade with Toronto. Jumped up, took TK. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. I kind of like Eric's point here. I think Coots is going to have a resurgence year. And let's just, if they say he was injured, what did they say he had, like a sports hernia, or he
There's a
had
new
something that was
I
slowing him down?
I think the core muscle surgery is like basically the new term for sports hernia, essentially. So it's
Okay.
just a different varieties. I believe Drysdale had something similar as well. Like it's just how bad it is, essentially, how deep they have to go, how invasive the surgery is. So that's a whole conversation within itself. It was considering Coots is now the whole thing with Tortorella. He was a healthy scratch when he clearly wasn't healthy. So that's just mind-boggling. So I expect him to be back. He was great last year up until January when he's got hurt or the injury started creeping up. He maybe not great, but he was damn good enough. Like that team was on fire, and he was a huge part of it.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers were basically mirroring from before he got hurt, before the back stuff. Besides like face off, but that was kind of evening out. So I think we're all, and maybe rightfully so, right? Because what we saw from Couturier at the end, but he's going to come out again, and we're going to say, oh, Coots is back, and we're going to be fine. Like, is he a 1C? I don't know. Probably borderline, 1C, 2C, one of those guys. I don't, he's definitely not the 1C that I think we want, but he'll help.
Yeah, and if he'd got hurt last year and it was his back, I'd be considerably more worried. I'm glad it was. Look, it sucks he got hurt, but I'm glad it wasn't the same issue. I'm glad it was something else, to be honest.
For sure. Okay, so let's talk lineups a little bit. So I'm just going to pull that one that I saw off Twitter real quick, and we'll go off that one. I know I retweeted it somewhere. Okay, here we go. So NHL Network posted a picture and a tweet. Matvei Michkov could make a big impact in his first season with the Flyers, and they have Philadelphia Flyers projected lines. So let's talk about this a little bit. First line is Tyson Forster, Sean Couturier, Travis Konecny. We'll talk the first two lines. Owen Tippett, Morgan Frost, Matvei Michkov on the second line. What would you change there, Jack, and why?
I know everybody wants to see Frost with Michkov, and I know a lot of people don't want to you shouldn't put him on your top line, but I can't help but want to see. I would really want to see Coots move TK to left and Michkov on that top line. And then maybe because we're gonna see them play with everybody, but the idea of him and TK out there, maybe we'll get to see that on the power play unit. But for me, a responsible center like that with two dangerous risk takers, I guess we'll say, offensively talented ones, that would be something. That's if Coots is the same guy he was at the start of last year. We know TK would be fine, and just see what Michkov has. At the same time, I don't hate the other line. I know a lot of people seem to like that. I don't know how that's going to go with Tippett being the speedster that he is, and I feel like sometimes he just tries to play on his own. But we'll see. He had a good year. He's up and down. He needs to be more consistent. Frost certainly needs to be more consistent, but he should have the higher upper end skill to play with a guy like Michkov. That seems to be the talking point about that line. So I guess let's see it.
Yeah, it's I'm kind of with you where I would rather see Couturier with Michkov, just so Michkov can do his thing offensively. And I don't really care if he doesn't play defense or if he's not good at defense. It's fine.
Yeah.
If you're playing with the Sean Couturier, he can kind of help you out. And then I would want to see, I think the same as you. I would want to see maybe Konecny on the other side, right? I think Konecny and Michkov could be a force. And I think it was Dave earlier in the chat that said Konecny, a 30 and 70 guy is really valuable. Well, yeah. I believe Sean Couturier was the last player to score consecutive seasons of 30 goals and 70 points since your favorite player, Jack. And no Flyer, I don't think, has done that since. I got to double check. But but Konecny could easily be that guy. And then with Michkov, I mean, you mentioned 60 points in a rookie season for Michkov. There you go. Pair him up with the Konecny, pair him up with the Couturier. The way the Flyers play, right? I mean, think about it. Like, they play a lot in transition. They get the puck out of their zone quick, and then they're off. Odd man rushes the other way. 3-on-1s, 2-on-1s, 2-on-0s, whatever it is. That's Konechny's game all day, right? And Michkov can do that as well. Obviously, he'll have to adapt. But Michkov, Konecny going the other way is scary, or even if it is Tippett and Michkov, or Tippett and Frost. I think that's how I would do it too, and maybe have Forster playing with Tippett and Frost on that second line. Is it like Forster's? He would probably end up being the more responsible defensively forward, and any line that Frost and Tippett is on is going to be, maybe a little bit. I don't want to say inept defensively, because Frost did improve throughout the season last year, but they're going to be out there for offense. They're not out there to play defense.
Yeah. I like that those 6 players should make up our top 6, and I guess you can sprinkle in Farabee here and there. We'll see how that goes. He's like one of the only true left wings on the team, and I'm sure Brink will get some time. But there'll be injuries and whatnot. But I would definitely like to start the season with some kind of combination of those 6 players being our top 6.
Yeah, me too. And so another thing that I noticed, and I think we mentioned it on our last show, but the Flyers have a pretty deep forward group. And I think maybe this offseason, I think we all had maybe some expectations, right? Because Trevor Zegras' name was flying all over the place. And, we knew the Flyers were good last year. We thought Michkov could be coming over, and we all wanted a 1C somehow. I don't know where he was going to come from. I don't know who it is, but we were all really hoping for one. After putting Michkov into this roster, the Flyers might have the deepest. They might be the deepest team in the NHL at wing. Like, just off this projected lineup, on the left side, we got Tyson Forster. We know that he can score. Owen Tippett just signed to a pretty decent deal. We know he can score when he gets going. Joel Farabee on the third line, and Noah Cates rounding out the left wings. On the right side, you have Konecny, who just, he's going to be a career Flyer, we think, at this point now. Matvei Michkov, Bobby Brink, who, looked good, very good at times last year on the third line, and then Garnet Hathaway to round that out. It's pretty solid on the wings, on the flanks. Obviously, center, it's, we say it's the Flyers' weakness. But let me read off some of these names. Sean Couturier, if he's healthy and he can play a full season. So there are significant ifs right away. Morgan Frost, we kind of figure he's going to give you what he's going to give you at this point, between 40, 50 points. Maybe things change if he can hit the ground running this season. Season starts in October. Hopefully Frost shows up. He's going to be playing with some pretty talented guys now. Scott Lawton, I guess we're saying he had a dip in his play last year. I didn't think he dipped as badly as everybody said, but his play dipped. Third line center. And then Ryan Poehling rounds out your centers, who I think on more nights than not will probably be the Flyers' third line center, and that's fine. So in my opinion, that forward group is extremely deep. They can send 4 lines at you,
Imagine them with a center. You imagine that top 9 with a nice center, just a center away. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing though. So let me get the comments from a show earlier today, because I had somebody in there kind of heckling me after the show there. Not heckling, but
let's say shit.
Let me see.
You podcasting by yourself? Get some friends.
Let me see.
Oh man,
oops, sorry.
Oh, start the show.
All right. So comments. Where is he here? So Eric Schmidt, who we've seen in here before. All right. So here's a comment. Whenever I think rebuild, don't worry about the future and sign guys where majority of an 8-year deal is in his 30s. So that's Konecny. There's another one here.
Sounds like a positive folk.
Yeah, so he's laughing. He goes, all the Flyers Twitter, and now you, cuz how are we getting a 1C and a 1D? We'll just figure it out. But
that does seem to be the plan.
Yeah, but what's the rush? Like the plan
There
is
no rush.
they have 3 years of dead cap money. What money do they have to go out and sign a center right now? And then who's available on the trade market? You know what I mean? If there was a trade to be made, don't you think they would have made it?
I think this is what I think. I don't think you're signing a 1C. That's not an option.
No.
I think that the price right now on potential 1Cs is way too high. And you saw how this fan base acted when we were like, hey, would you trade York for Zegras? And they're all like, Zegras is Chris Chelios in his prime. And, you know, the price from what we're understanding the Anaheim's asking is worlds above that. That's why, you know, because they don't have to trade him. So like you said, Jim, they don't have to do anything this offseason. I think there was a lot of, because of how the draft went, the inactivity has people a little stir crazy. Which is why this is a great week. The re-signing, connecting the arrival of Michkov, you know. So, but they really have. I think they're saving their money the best they can until around 2026. Is it possible they get a really good 2C or 1C from that class? I think so, but I don't think most of those names will reach free agency, let alone sign with the Flyers. But you never know. Then again, what other situation could present itself? What player looking for a new situation or a team? I'm not saying Toronto, but a team like Toronto who's top heavy, but it ain't working, looks to make a move to shake things up. Something like that is probably their plan on top of drafting. They have plenty of draft picks. Doesn't look like they're going to be in the top 5 at all. Top 10 maybe with their own pick. And those other picks, like, it's not crazy to think that Edmonton and Colorado could be playing in the Western Conference Finals against each other. So it's nice to have 3 first-round picks. The odds of them selecting a 1C and him getting here before 2050 is pretty slim. But what other options do you have? I still think the trade market in some way, shape, or form is the way to go. But you can't be stupid. You're going to have to play it out. And I really hope if a deal is rumored to be getting done with a guy like Zegras and nobody else seems to be available, that they ump the ante, but it doesn't mean sell the farm either. So they can be patient. I'm not against that, but they do have to do something. And it's they got plenty of time. I keep saying that. 2 years, really. Maybe I do expect a lot of movement next year. I'm not going to lie. Based on the players they have, if like Lawton is still here next year, like, come on, what are we doing? I get what you said about gel guys, but you didn't even mention Lawton. And we know he's like the number 1 gel guy. But my point is, they have other gel guys. If he has a first-round pick value coming back, you have to trade the guy. Like, I'm sorry. He's been here plenty. It's time to move on. If those little moves don't start getting made, then people are questioning Briere now, which in my opinion is silly, but they're questioning him now. Other people are outright pissed off about the re-signing of Konecny, not getting a number 1C, the way the draft went down, the way Cutter went down, the way Kolosov's going down so far. Like, people are really questioning some shit. I think it's unprecedented. But if that stuff starts to happen, where he doesn't trade Lawton and he doesn't trade a Farabee or a Brink or some winger or something like that, and I get it, he's got 2 years, if not more. But something's got to give, and I think that needs to give sooner rather than later, as in next offseason, to be honest.
Why, though?
Well, how long are these guys going to hold value before you know what you have and other teams start to throw you, the lowball you? You know, like, you want to sell. If you have that many wingers, are we really going to roll? This is our wing group going in. We're just going to roll with this when we lack center depth. If we didn't lack anything, I say, sure, see what happens, see who's left. But if you don't have something and you have an opportunity to get it, you have to explore that market. I'm okay with nothing happening this season, but you have to make a move at some point. You just can't build through the draft in Michkov like we've built through the draft before, and that blew up in our face. It's too much of a crapshoot. So I think they need to look into multiple ways of getting 1C and hope one of them pan out. It's not just, like I said, don't sell the farm for one guy. I think they need to draft 1 or 2 guys in the first round this year, hopefully with the higher picks. Maybe trade up. I don't know. That doesn't really seem feasible. It sounds great when you say it. How many people traded into the top 10 last year? None. So, like, it sounds great. There's a lot of hoopla, but it ultimately doesn't happen. And we put our hopes on Jet Luchenko. I'm sure he'll be a nice player, but again, like, you have Michkov here. You really want to get him a true 1C for the future. That to me is more important than a 1D, but I still think you could use a 1D. Don't get me wrong. Most teams that win have that. Florida proved you don't need it, but that's why I focus more on 1C. Sooner rather than later, so you can grow with your team. But again, I don't know who's going to become available. He's going to be scrutinized for it forever.
Right. That's what's happening.
And I like Briere. I like the moves he's made. I think things are out of his control. Cutter's a piece of shit. You can't tell me that was his fault. Unless there's some weird shit we don't know. But the way he treated other people besides Briere and whatnot, the Leclercs, Patrick Sharps, that just tells me everything about the guy's fucked up.
All right, so I'll spill a little bit on that.
No.
I said I was going to talk about that whole situation. So the person that really screwed that up was Chuck Fletcher.
Well, you don't say.
Right. And so he's not here anymore. And I guess people forget that he was the GM, right? And so what happened with that was they promised Gauthier a certain amount of bonus money for this past season, right? And I think I have to double check. So I think teams get a certain amount of bonus money to give players, and somebody can double check me. And what happened was when they signed Noah Cates, they gave too much of a signing bonus to Cates that they didn't have enough money left over to pay Gauthier the full, I guess, what they promised him, I guess. And it pissed him off. And so I think, and this is all, whispered down the lane, what I was told was they told him, we can give you, whatever was promised to you next year, but it means, you can come up, you'll come up, you'll play with the Phantoms and come up with us the next season. And as a kid, whatever he is, 18, 19 years old, and he's one of these U.S. Development program kids, you're told something once, that's what it should be. And in a way, I agree with that. But the reality is things change. It's a new regime, new GM, new president of hockey operations and all that, new owner of the team. Somebody should be helping him understand they're going through some things here. Have a little patience, a little understanding. At the same time, I could understand as a kid, your dream is right there. You were promised a fixed amount of money, and now it's reneged. And you want to play in the NHL as soon as possible. And they're telling you that it's not possible this year. But did he handle it the right way? I'm not saying that he handled it the right way. But I'm not saying that the blame is all on Gauthier either. It's sort of on both sides for how that played out. But that's what happened, at least what I was told happened with that. And to me, that seems the most believable scenario to have happened. And again, did Gauthier handle this the right way? Absolutely not. Right? But I don't know, the initial reaction from the Flyers that night, I was swept up in the moment. I loved it. I was like, whoa, these guys are really all coming together. As the weeks went on and things kind of cooled off from that, if you were going to sort of overcorrect something or you wanted to sway, we see it in the media every day. If you want to sway someone's opinion, if you want to get them on your side, you get out ahead of things, right? And so they don't want to look like the old Flyers anymore. They don't want to be laughed at, this and that. So what did they do? Whether you agree with it or not, they got out in front. They said Cutter didn't want to play here, this and that. And they kind of badmouthed him a lot. Like even Hilferty was on Snow the goalie, like badmouthing Gauthier. And that's kind of It's excessive, in my opinion. But they thought that they were doing the right things. And hey, if that's what you want to do and you believe in what you're doing, go for it. Do I agree with it looking back? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that stuff. But, especially after finding out what may have happened, it's like, well, the kid was pissed. You pissed him off. This is your 5th overall pick. You shouldn't be going out of your way to piss him off, number one. I mean, it sounds like they tried to make amends, and Cutter didn't want anything to do with the Flyers. And so they end up, kept things under wraps, and they end up moving them. But that's what I heard happen with that.
Well, we'll see if that's one day that's true or not. I could see it being true. But to me, that still is the players bigger than the franchise. And to me, that's fucking utterly ridiculous. Yeah, does it suck? But is he completely turned off to how the NHL works? And like you said, the Flyers were going through something. And I totally agree with you with the media. You got to get ahead of stuff. It's the best way to, make yourself look good. But at the same time, they knew they had to answer to their fans. Like that, there was zero rumors. Like, not that there should be. I get why there wasn't, but like you have to answer your fans. And this fan base, with what this franchise just went through with those other assholes leading us for the last, the Valerie goofballs and Dave Scotts, like they had to get ahead of it. They had to. And at the end of the day, right or wrong, the way that I just feel like kids nowadays, some of these players, especially the American ones, they're already bigger than the franchise. It should be an absolute privilege to play in the NHL. And trade me, and I'm not talking to anybody ever again, and shuts it off. I'll never get behind that shit. Never. I do not care. What he makes in his asshole salary bonus is going to be peanuts if he's as good as he thinks he is. When he hits his free agency or his real contract money. So that's just so idiotic to me and stupid. And I just fuck him anyway. Piece of shit. Yeah, I just think he deserved everything he got. I'm sorry, it is what it is. People crying for the player, and fuck him and his whole inner circle, cocksucker.
Oh my God.
Sorry.
So Cosimo Pineda, and I feel bad, Cosimo. I've seen a bunch of your posts about prospects in the draft, and yeah, this is for next year. There's going to be a lot of prospects in next year's draft. Center prospects. He mentions Hagens, Frondell, and Misa. And the Flyers, what do they have, Jack? 3 first-round picks right now?
Yes.
And so I think they know. Like I said, this organization has a plan, and maybe they are rebuilding / retooling the roster. But they're accumulating draft picks. They know they're not going to be a bottom 10 team or a bottom 5 team. So they're accumulating first-round picks, and maybe they can move up into the top 10 with these first-round picks somehow. Like they're not just. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. It's just a maybe scenario. Is this about Cutter here from Ronnie?
It's the only C word I know.
Where are you? That it's 3 a.m., Ronnie.
That's a good question.
That's like the other half of the world, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Interesting. All right. What else do we want to talk about tonight? Bottom line, it's his this is from Vegas. Bottom line, it's his attitude. When you have the best of Team USA visit you in Sharp and Leclerc, you don't ignore those 2 guys. Yeah. Well said. A little bit of respect, right?
That's it. It's not that hard.
And look, let's put it this way. Why do we want somebody like that on the Philadelphia Flyers anyways?
I don't.
There you go.
That's not good for the locker room.
No. Ronnie's from Sweden. Thanks for checking in, Ronnie.
Love it.
All right. So it's 3 a.m. over there. It's almost 9:15 here. Anything else you wanted to touch on before we wrap up, Jack?
No, I think most of our podcasts at some point for a while are going to eventually bring up the center talk, and it's going to be interesting. But I just wanted to be clear that I'm still 100% on board with what Briere and company are doing. I love the draft. They have 3 first-round picks. That's awesome. I expect more. Last year, I wanted 4 first-round picks. We wound up with 2, but we got in the trade for, oh my God, I almost forgot it, Sean Walker. We now have 3 this year going into this year. Got to assume Lawton gets traded at some point, in my opinion. It's got 2 years left on that deal. We can wait to the last second. So there's a legit chance they could have 4 or 5 first-round picks, Jimmy, because this is the draft to have it in. 5 just seems like ridiculous. I can't think of a time a team had 5 first-round picks in the same draft. Not in NHL, the video game, but should be fun. 3 going into the year is awesome. Yeah, I'm not. I can't. I feel like every time I get into it, you feel like I want something done immediately. I don't. I swear I don't. But I understand some of the outcry. However, a lot of people have taken it way too far. Holy shit. They're calling for his head already. That to me is stupid. That is silly. When we ultimately see what deals do get done, hopefully they're good deals, and then we'll see why patience is a virtue.
Yeah, totally agree. I see this as I'm watching a movie. I'm watching it play out, and I'm not upset with anything that Briere's done. You know, we have something that we can question him on now in the Konecny deal. Dave Harris chiming in. Dave, thanks for hanging out. In Danny, we trust. And I'm just watching how this plays out. They were better than I expected last year. I think better than everybody expected last year, right? There were a lot of bright spots. Cam York, Owen Tippett, Morgan Frost showed flashes.
Forrester, 20 goals.
Forrester, 20 goals. So there were a lot of bright spots this season. Matvei Michkov's coming over. Maybe we have a healthy Couturier. Let's see what we got in Jamie Drysdale. You know, there were a lot of positives last year. I think there'll be some positives this year. What I want to talk about on a future show is, will every single one of these players take another positive step forward? That's a really tough thing to do. You know, who's going to take a step back and who's going to take another step forward, kind of thing. I think that's a good conversation to have. But let's end this one here tonight. We're almost an hour and 7 minutes in. We'll let Ronnie get to sleep. I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out. You guys are the best. CMZ, we'll get you on real quick. I don't think we got you on. We need one of Tippett, Forster, or Brink to take a huge step. Yeah, we do.
Can you imagine if Tippett took a huge step on top of what he just did last year? Oh.
I'm feeling Tippett, man. I think we could be seeing a 30-30 type season, 30-35. So, but all right.
Kudos to the Sony Soprano picture right before he's about to pass out at the golfing event.
Good stuff as always, boys and girls. We'll be back next week, most likely next Wednesday. Nobody's on vacation. Nobody's got any exams, so we'll be here. All right. We'll talk to you guys next week. Everybody have a good night. Thank you for watching the HW Hockey YouTube channel. For Jack, I'm Jim. Make sure you guys give us a subscribe. Tell a friend. See you guys.
Later.